There you go, folks. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm like, what can I use? What can I play here that connects to the Rings of Power episode 6?
D.
There we go. There it is, right there, baby. There it is. That's what we do to Saran, bitch. That's what you're gonna get, Saran. Whenever we ever figure out who the fuck you are, I'm telling you. I think it's one of the halflings is Saran. But anyways, folks, I don't want to spoil anybody here. You know, it's not like we're behind on the Rings of the Power series or anything like that, and whatnot, right? And the finale already came out, didn't it, Cyber?
Yeah, episode 8.
Oh, okay. Episode 8, yeah. What did it just come out at least?
A week ago,
Okay.
week or so ago. Yeah, I think it was maybe 2 weeks now.
Well, if not for fucking She-Hulk sending me that hurricane, man, you know, we would have been straight. Yeah, I'm telling you, even godlike stuff is going to be blamed on She-Hulk at this point. But anyways, this is another conversation, folks, for another show. We're getting there, though. We're working on our way to it. It's coming. It's going to be called the Season 1 She-Hulk Recap. It's going to be very interesting. I'm telling you, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be some interesting shit. Me and Cybernetic Shark over here, my co-host, are going to be get rough. We're going to be getting raw. Like, you know, get heated and shit and whatnot. Standing up for us men out there and whatnot and all that. Tell these chicks we don't want to be down. You know what I'm saying? Or like walk ashamed and shit like Daredevil. You know? That's not right to do Daredevil dirty like that. But hey, you know what? That's okay. The Rings of Power is a much more positive, you know. It's not as depressing and like, you know, it doesn't cause you to experience some of the stuff that I've been working with. And while I want to get into my medical issues, my private personal issues I'm dealing with, you know, that have to do with ED and irreversible. But you know, that shit does, you know, it hasn't improved. You know what I'm saying? It's irreversible, you know. So at that point, I mean, either way, folks, yes, we're here to do Rings of the Power, the Amazon Prime Video series, the Lord of the Rings inspired, loosely, I guess, series, right? We're doing here with episode 6. And June's back with us with the Cybernetic Shark, my co-host. We're here at the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast. I'm Jeff S., a.k.a. True Knowledge. We are both, all three of us are humbled and feel blessed to be here to do this review of, you know, of this episode, regardless of being behind and whatnot and everything. Because you know what? The series is getting hot, baby. It's getting good. You know? Shit was looking a little rough there at the beginning. You know, I was teetering a little bit. But, yo, it's been coming in strong. You know? And I'll tell you what, June, you picked a good spot to come back in, brother. You know, I'm telling you, I don't blame you, dude. June was like, "Yo, this shit's looking rough, bro. I'm gonna bounce for a minute. I'll come back for around episode 5, 6. Come back, take a break.
Well, it's good to be back.
Yeah, rewatch She-Hulk. You know, get reacquainted with it. Anyways, so Cybernetic Shark and June, let me ask you real quick. Have you gone ahead and watched all the way through the series already?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, you have a Cyber, you have June.
Correct.
All right, well, listen, June. No, like spoilers are okay, but don't be telling us who Saran is or all that shit, or like who the fucking stranger or whatever you call him is. I don't want to know. You know, I want to find out on my own.
No worries. Don't worry about that.
All right. Yeah. Don't be trying to play around like that. Or don't be trying to throw me off and like try to like tell me that like the stranger is fucking like Rob Zombie or something, you know, or who the fuck knows what.
I'll be sure to choose my words carefully. Yeah.
Hey, he's definitely not Saran. I think that's pretty clear. But then again, you could be wrong, right? Cybernetic Shark, sir, what do you think of the logos for the Rings of Power? I think they're absolutely wonderful and they're really well done.
They're not too bad. I mean, I feel they look pretty similar to the original, like logoing and stuff like that for the films and so forth and stuff like that. And I think they're not too shabby. I wouldn't say they're the best. I wouldn't say they're the worst. But definitely, I think they're pretty decent.
What do you think, June?
When you say logos, what do you mean exactly? Are you talking about
I mean the show title logos, you know, like when they
like the opening credits and stuff? Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I think it's artsy. It's fine. It's not, I don't watch it every time, but I think it's well done.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I like them. I like it. I think it's pretty good. And so now, just a really quick kind of like, I guess, like reconnect with episode 5. June, kind of going back, pretend for a minute that you didn't, you haven't seen episode 7 and 8. Did you feel a sense of in episode 5, like things were swinging, like the momentum was kind of like starting to turn? Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
How would you define that yourself?
I really feel like the first couple of episodes, I mean, I'm a nerd enough to where I will watch tons and tons of build up, even if it doesn't lead to anything big happening in the first season of a show. But I feel like there was a point around episode 3 or 4 where even I was starting to get a little bit anxious of I want to see the story move forward. I was promised a certain story, but up until this point, I feel like it's been nothing but setup. But once episode 5 kind of came out, things started to come together, storylines started crossing, and I started getting much more of a sense of the direction the story was going in. It definitely built up a lot more intrigue on my end. So I was really excited to see where it goes. And as we saw in episode 6, the story is definitely moving forward at a much better pace now. So I think it's now hit its stride pretty well.
Cybernetic Shark, do you think that it's possible at all that there could have been possibly like mismatched expectations in terms of what we would get right from jump with a actual TV series based off of like the Lord of the Rings, as opposed to the 3 Lord of the Rings movies we got in the trilogy where it was 3 like full, feature-length films, and that, right? There was going to be a little bit of a deviation there. Think like MCU phase 1 through 3, right? And then the insertion of Disney Plus, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, okay? So you tell me, do you think it's possible that the medium itself of switching over to like the episodical is just going to be a different kind of deal, a different kind of energy or creative process maybe than like doing a film?
Oh, most definitely. Don't forget, when you do a feature length film, there's a lot more time frame you have to put all the information into. You're able to do a beginning, middle, and end. Whereas with episodes, they have to basically condense it down one big giant story and tell a little bit of the story each episode. So, I mean, it's a big difference than what we got from the movies because they have a lot more episodes or, footage they have to show to get you that story, to give you that complete, full arc that you're looking for, unlike with a movie. So, yeah, they have to do a lot of things different. That's why if you notice with a lot of the episodes, there's a lot of filler episodes. And those fillers are all that, material usually that you get in within the middle of a movie that's like 3 hours long, that we see in so many episodes passing by because they have to condense it down and cut it where they think it's appropriate to cut it so that you feel that you're getting the full message. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bigger and different game doing it TV series wise. They have to condense it a lot more. They have to put more information. So sometimes I feel that when you put something as gigantic as, Lord of the Rings into a TV series, as we've seen like with Falcon the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, etc., stuff like that, a lot of people feel coming out of it like there's not enough time. They didn't give us enough information, but at the same time, they gave us too much information. And I feel that's kind of what happens with some of these, TV series that go from movie quality to TV series quality is that they get lost in translation a little bit because we're so used to a certain method when they change it to this type of format.
At that point, I don't know about you. You tell me, June. It never even occurred to me that there would be filler episodes in this series. I'm sorry, but when you think Lord of the Rings, but like, and you connect that to anything, you don't expect filler shit. Like you don't expect Naruto Shippuden, 77 like filler episodes in a row. You don't even know what the hell's even going on. You know what I mean? Like fucking, what even happened? What happened to like the third Great Ninja War? It's like, what happened? What was that? What was that? Like, it's not like, you don't expect that from Lord of the Rings. You don't expect that. I didn't expect that from the series at all. So, like, honestly, Cyber, I'm glad you mentioned that in a way, because you tell me, Jude, it never even occurred to me that we'd even have a filler episode in the series.
I actually never even thought that far because when I first heard that there was a show being made, My first impression was that it was going to be based off the entire Silmarillion. So my first thought was just, how do you translate the Silmarillion into a television show? With that initial idea, I couldn't even fathom there being any filler, because there's no part of that book, as far as I know, that is filler. Everything's really important. But I like the way that they've done it. Even the filler that we do have, I feel like it serves really well to do a lot of good world building. So I have no problem with it. I think it's something that adds to the quality of the show. And of course, at the end of the day, it's a show. It's going to be multiple seasons. If you want to condense any story, you could condense it down into a few sentences if you had to, really, But I think it serves the show well to have the kind of quality filler that it has.
I'm telling you, having filler episodes of our show, of our live stream shows, is really a great thing for us. It's really helpful to us in general, in terms of how good we are, how well we do our shows and whatnot and everything, right? Cyber, our filler episodes are killer.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't think filler is necessarily a bad thing. I think nowadays it's become synonymous with being bad because of stuff like Naruto, where you have 100 episodes where you can essentially skip them and not miss anything in the overall story. But, it's like any good thing. There have to be ups and downs, and it done well, paced well. It serves the show more so than it detracts from it.
Well, I'm blaming She-Hulk for filler episodes in general. Just the concept of filler episodes, I'm blaming it on She-Hulk. I am. The concept itself. Like, not even just like in like one series, overall. I'm telling you, my list of things that I'm going to blame fucking She-Hulk on is going to grow. So, just to be clear. I'm not going to blame She-Hulk for whatever that crazy shit was there at the end of the episode and whatnot, with the fireballs and shit and everything and whatnot. That shit was crazy. I don't think She-Hulk did that. I won't lie. I don't. Maybe but who knows though? It could have, maybe it was the frog dude. Maybe he was doing it. Toad Man or whatever the fuck he was. Cyber.
Say it again.
Who was the stupid freaking Toad character or superhero or whatever in the finale?
Toad character.
It's She-Hulk, the dude of the Toad, like the frog.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, I mean,
that
he is
cloud.
what it is. He is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, essentially, right? What did you think, Cyber? How did you feel in terms of like episode 5? Like, did you feel like it was a poignant kind of like type of episode for you, where it did swing at all for you in any direction? Did you not need that? Did you already have that going? Or did episode 6 really deliver that for you?
Episode 6 really delivered for me. I was kind of, to this point, I was kind of bored with it a little bit. There was some great action sequences with a few of the episodes, and I thought that there was some good storyline and stuff like that with a few of the episodes. But like after like the first episode, I felt was good. Then the second episode went downhill. Third episode, I felt was kind of downhill, and then 4 kind of picked up a little bit. And then 5 was okay, but it kind of went down again. And then 6 just pulled me back in and totally just redeemed itself. Get-go, it's action-packed. And just hands down, I thought it was just really redid it, got me back into wanting to watch Lord of the Rings. It just was a really fantastic episode. So, yeah, I feel that 6 definitely did it more for me than 5.
I do too. And I think that, just as a little change of pace, I've been doing this a little bit lately with some of these longer episode reviews that are a little different than the Disney Plus, like Marvel stuff that we're used to doing, or even like Andor, I guess. House of Dragon, these episodes of like the Rings of Power, they're pretty long, pretty in-depthful. I feel like the battle really changed like the whole game. Like the energy just changed. I was honestly shocked, to tell you the truth, at like the level of like brutality and like violence that they showed and displayed during the battle scene and whatnot and everything. I did not expect that at all. I didn't. It did not. I didn't think it would go to that level. When Arendir took on, I guess I don't even know. I thought it was some big fucking crazy looking, ugly ass, like big orc dude. but was that actually like one of the villagers, like with a costume on or something? I don't, who knows, man. Either way, when he was like trying to kill him and the blood was falling on his face and all that and whatnot, and then Bronwyn got him, you know, like that shit was intense. And you know, I'm telling you right now, Aaron Deere is my MVP for episode 6. He killed it. Like seriously, I mean, he's inspiring. You know, like he genuinely is. You know, what did you think, June? Like, look, you know, we'll flush out the entire scope of like the episode and like the different characters and like the different dynamics that are playing out the tropes throughout the series where they're at. But in general, the episode mostly features and like centers on, you know, Adar, you know, and the Numenorians, a little bit of Galadel, and you know, basically Bronwyn and you know, Arondir and Theo, the villagers, and like the battle, you know, and then some other side stuff too, you know. But that's where it really centers. And we haven't really gotten any action right till this episode. So you tell me, what does it feel like for you to finally get something that I guess in a way almost maybe compared to like did really like bring us back to the Lord of the Rings for a minute?
I think they did a really good job of displaying just how good elves are at what they do. That's something that they did a lot with Legolas and Lord of the Rings. At points in the Hobbit trilogy, it did get a little bit ridiculous because remember there was a scene where he was essentially just hopscotching over rocks that were collapsing under him. So that got a little bit ridiculous. But I think it serves to show that these elves, you know, they are much stronger, faster, more agile than humans are, and it displays it in a really cool way. There's this part where when he shoots the arrow and he's bringing the whole tower thing down and he kicks a stone that's tied to a chain that pulls a lever, closes the door, keeps the orcs in. I thought that was just really cool. So I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with you. Yeah, Arondir is the man. He's a certified badass. He's cool.
I'm blaming She-Hulk for this also. But anyways, Cyber, would you agree, sir, that Arondir is the Monica Rambeau Award nominee for episode 6?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that's the only reason that is because I feel he got the most screen time for the episode. And so seeing him mostly in the episode, him kind of taking the lead, you know, being this like kind of like badass character, I feel is, you know, why he would become that Monica Rambeau Award. And which I find kind of interesting that, you know, they wait until like kind of this episode to really do that with him. And, you know, I think that, you know, throughout the, you know, series so far, he's been okay. He's been pretty decent of a character and I've enjoyed him. And, I think that he definitely was good in this episode. I really think that the elf, orc, I think he was actually my favorite of the episode because I felt he really was showing his real true colors and like what he really was about. But I thought Arondir did a good job. I definitely agree that he deserves the Monica Rambeau.
Joseph Mall as Adar was crazy killer too. He really he's definitely brought energy to the series from the minute that he kind of like got in there, right? He's kind of brought something else to the table that really added something that I think the series needed, you know? Which I mean, honestly, I can't say that I can nail it down 100% accurately in terms of exactly what that is. I don't know that it is a big bad or whatever that like that when you did that, right? In some tangible form. I feel like he brings this almost like evilness, this malice, right? And like not insane, like not Venom crazy or not like Carnage crazy, like, you know, not psychotic. Like he's got some like, you know, some straight up like Seven from like the 90s with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman and freaking Kevin Spacey like type crazy shit going on, right? Where he's like dark and like, you know, he's been through some deep shit. You know, like you know, like I mean, he's like sinister, you know, and I feel like you tell me, Cyber. I guess in contrast to, you know, Arondir, what do you feel like Adar's impact has been overall, and then in terms of like the performance he put in episode 6.
What was the question again?
And just to be clear, this is Joseph Mall that plays Adar. It's Joseph Mall. What would you say his overall impact has been since he popped up in the series, right? And then in contrast to like Aaron Deer, how did you feel like, what did you feel like he really did and brought to episode 6? I know it's a double header, right?
Yep. I mean, since his introduction, I mean, I understand kind of like he's kind of become the kind of like the main character of the series, I feel. I mean, I think it's trying to draw a little bit of attention away from Gadriel. And, once again, another elf that they're kind of, focusing on. And I think that, he's been interesting. I think he's been fun. I don't think he's my favorite character, but he definitely is pretty badass in some of his scenes that he's had fighting sequences. And I think that the actor does a pretty good job of bringing this character to life. I'm not very familiar with this character. I haven't read what this is based off of, and so I mean, this character is definitely interesting. It's a different type of elf that we've seen comparatively to other the other Lord of the Ring films and the Hobbit films and so forth. And I think that he's been pretty decent addition to this cast and given it an interesting story. I definitely have to, talk about a little bit here about how he's kind of fallen in love with Bronwyn. And I think that was kind of a shock for me because I don't recall them kind of any interconnecting previously to this, signs I've seen anyways of their supposed romantic relationship. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing in this episode with his story arc. And but overall, I think that he's been a pretty decent addition. I'm just not. I don't think he's the greatest, but at the same time, I think isn't doing too shabby for this series. To the second question, which please remind me what it was again.
Blame it on She-Hulk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's She-Hulk.
No. Did you feel like, I mean, in contrast, I guess, to like kind of Arondir, did you feel like this really was like his like contemptuous, or whatever you want to call it, like episode almost? Like this is really the one that kind of like sprung him off?
Yes, I would say that this was definitely a show that really centered him more, gave him more of a presence, really kind of kicked him off and gave him more of a kind of like him becoming a main character. I definitely agree with that, and that this really showed kind of gave you more idea of his potential as a fighter, as an arrowsman, as the elf that we've kind of learned a little bit about him versus seeing him trying to fight for survival and a couple episodes prior. And you kind of just see more of who he is and how I feel he's definitely different than a majority of the other elves. He's not the same as those other elves where they're very, as I've mentioned before, they're very sophisticated. They're very strong in their mind and they're very set in their ways. Whereas I feel, he has some of those sayings, but at the same time, I feel that he is open to interpretation or to growing. And I think that's kind of what sets him apart from the other elves. And I feel that kind of was shown in this episode.
Most definitely. June, what do you think? Same question, brother. What's Adar? We haven't really discussed Adar, with you at all, I don't think. What's Adar like been as a catalyst, I guess, right? For us in the series, right? And then, how did you feel like the episode, did you feel like episode 6 really catapulted him or just put him in a good spot? Or did they just shift the spotlight to him, like kind of Cyber said, and just give him more screen, more time on screen, essentially, right, to talk and shit and whatnot? I feel like he's pretty. I mean, he's actually like legit, like authentically profound at times, like legitimately a lot. Some of the other characters and whatnot, like freaking Elendil, I swear to God, he makes me laugh sometimes, man. Like he's
Elendil's my favorite character, man.
they give him some shit to say and whatnot, everything that's supposed to, I guess it's supposed to be powerful or whatever, and whatnot, or whatever. And I hear it and I'm just like, whatever, man. Seriously? Like, come on now.
Oh no,
You know?
Elendil is my favorite character. But now with Adar, I think the show's done a good job of building intrigue on his end. His introduction to the show, for me, it was kind of, I was afraid he was going to be a very kind of, for lack of a better word, edgelord character when he first showed up. But the actor has done a good job portraying him, has shown a lot of nuance in his performance, which is really good. So there's clearly much more to him than just, oh, this is the new bad guy. And I think through him, it also gives the orcs more character because we see that he actually has a proper relationship with them. It's not just, oh, I'm the biggest, baddest orc, therefore all these orcs follow me. There's a real sense of loyalty that's conveyed there. So I definitely think he's a great character, interesting character, cool character. And, I'm assuming we've all watched the movie, so we know what eventually happens down the line, but just to see Adar being the catalyst for a lot of what's going to happen go down the line is really interesting, because then you start thinking, he's mentioned in the past that, he hates Sauron, he killed Sauron and stuff like that, but clearly his actions he thinks are the best are leading to the events of the movie. So it's just interesting to see a character have that much drive for a goal, but then to ultimately know that it's in vain. So I think he's a cool character.
Hey, me too. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know, you tell me, as far as the whole battle, right, where for the whole massive part of it, somehow these were all human beings in costumes that were so accurate as to looking as orcs that they fought a battle and shit. And nobody even noticed that they were in costumes and shit. They looked like orcs and whatnot. I gotta think, man, that who right there designed those fucking orc costumes and whatnot and everything, baby. And that's the only way they were able to sell that shit. Right?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, you don't know about? Oh, come on now.
No,
Look, I mean,
if you tell me what she's done, I might know, but I don't know who that is.
June, that is actually Michael Jackson. No, that's actually Chloe Zhao. Lord Deathman's hero.
Okay.
The director of Eternals.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that person.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, she designed those orc outfits. That's why they were so well done, right? Because I mean, I don't know, man. You'd have to be pretty delusional or pretty drunk as shit or whatever, and whatnot to somehow not realize I mean, what would the artistic level be at at that point in the universe and history, in terms of coming up with costumes and whatnot? How would that be passable? So either way, that's okay. I'm sorry, Amazon. I don't want to pick on you or whatnot and everything and anything like that and whatnot. But I could not help myself with that. It was just kind of interesting. But either way, so for me, I felt essentially, now, June, you already mentioned that you really like Elendil, and I like Bronwyn. She's kind of my favorite. I like Arondir too. I think that they're great together. Cyber, do you have a favorite?
I would definitely have to say so far, my favorite would have to be Adar.
Adar, there you go. All right, hey. Definitely. I don't blame you. I'll tell you right now, though, he did not kill Sauron because Sauron would beat his ass. You know what I'm saying? Dude, Adar ain't got nothing on Sauron. You know what I'm saying? He's no joke. And, I'm telling you right now, Sauron, well, we talked about it last week. I can't wait to see what they're actually going to do with him. I don't know if we're going to get him in the series or not and whatnot. But now, essentially, for me, I felt again, coming off episode 5, where we actually had some of the I guess the betrayal or like the disloyalty. And then we had actually, some of the townsfolk actually like siding with the Dark Lord and like the Dark Forces and deciding to like bend the knee rather than like fight or protect their land and whatnot and everything, or run away. Excuse me, and fight. And honestly, that it was interesting to see that played out and everything and whatnot, because it's been a trope that they kind of inserted right from jump that had gone on before, might still be going on. And they kind of walked away from it a little bit. I feel like the fact that they actually literally were able to use the villagers, the other side of the villagers and whatnot, in the battle like that and whatnot, right? Again, take away my comment about the costumes. That's really psychologically intense if you think about it. It really is. When I thought about it for a minute and whatnot, and I grasped that was what occurred, and then they were surrounded by the actual like orc army. It really, I guess, hit me, Cyber, that even though they haven't showed it a lot, really, because they haven't given us a lot of like side scenes where you see just peasants and shit, scared or like, whatever.
Mhm.
Saran and like the dark forces and whatnot and the Orson shit are scary. Like they're evil, they're terrifying and whatnot and shit. And at that point, legitimately, they're scary to the point where it's enough to like make people want to just give up and like bend the knee, right? And did you feel like even that itself, like that whole aspect of the battle, that it was the actual other part of the, the folks, the townsfolks that was participated and fought against their friends and whatnot, that was kind of like an intense kind of thing?
Tense.
Or, just kind of make maybe like an interesting kind of twist, you know what I mean? That just, to kind of add to the seriousness, I guess, maybe, or like the kind of dark tone that some of the episode had.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with that. It was a good twist. That is my only complaint about the episode, is that there's a lot of the scenes were too dark. You really couldn't see the characters very well, especially that sequence where Adar is in, the whatever that place is supposed to be that they're all hiding in, and I felt that sequence was too dark. And then that one sequence when the orcs are first popping up to attack, when showing all the flames and like that, you could barely see Adorn hiding up there ready to use his bow and arrow and stuff like that. And but yeah, I feel that would be a good twist, most definitely, for this episode, to kind of get you rethinking and kind of re-engaging you into the episode, to get you kind of thinking, try to figure out, there is more than meets the eye here. And I definitely agree that, like I said, it pulled me back in, and this was, I feel, by far my favorite episode of the series.
Yeah, June, did you see significance in that whole thing? Like when you think about it in a way, in terms of like adding another layer, I guess, or to the episode.
I think it does. I think the whole idea of the fact that it's turning the same group of people against one another, whether by force or otherwise, I think it's a really good representation of what Sauron and the evil as it's displayed in the world of Lord of the Rings represents. Evil doesn't necessarily have to be monsters and orcs and ogres. It's choices that people make that end up having the, people that would otherwise be getting along fine end up on two different sides of a fight. So I think it is significant. I think there was a reason that they did that. They did that pretty well. It's a little silly if you really think about it, that how did they not realize it was humans in armor rather than orcs? But I think with that, what's more important is what that represents.
Most definitely. And I think that it's very like Tolkien-esque, if you think about it in a way, because back in the day, there were, situations in history where it has occurred that people out of fear and whatnot, right? Like for their own survival have fought, like, like on the sides of like regimes and whatnot and everything, in wars and battles and whatnot and everything, just like that almost, right? It's happened before. I mean, And then you've got Sweden during World War II, where they didn't even do anything. They just like bent the knee to Hitler and were like, "Yo, we're out, baby." You know, what up? But either way, that's another show. Did you think possibly, June, that? And I want to bring it into focus, I guess, because I mean we start the episode off kind of, I guess, and then if you think about it, somewhat kind of almost close it out to some extent with Bronwyn and Arendir. Has that relationship done anything for you at all? I mean, does it at least like come off serious to you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like believable. I mean, is it do you find it interesting? I enjoy it.
I wouldn't say I necessarily find it interesting. I think it's displayed well. I think in the earlier episodes they were subtle and blatant enough in certain regards to convey what kind of relationship they had, so it doesn't feel unnatural. The actors do a fine job. I think they have good chemistry for what it's worth. Do I find it interesting, and do I kind of am I looking forward to what happens with the relationship? I don't care one way or the other what really happens, but I think for the purpose that the two characters serve in the story, it's fine.
You don't care what happens to him? I mean, geez, man, that's pretty cold-hearted there, June. Come on now.
In the romantic sense, I'm more concerned about what happens with War to War and all that stuff. But
we're going to end up in an work camp in the finale or some shit. Like, I mean, come on now. Bronwyn gets sold into like slavery or some shit. Come on now. Hey, let's be positive. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, hey, look, I'm not crying inside over like what happens to the relationship either. I mean, the last time I checked, there's no aspect of Lord of the Rings that has anything to do with soap opera, or soap operas or whatever. Cyber, I know you're a really emotional guy, when it comes to this kind of stuff. Do you care very deeply about the long-term success of the relationship between Bronwyn and Arendir?
No. No, I could care less. I think it doesn't need to be in it. I like I said, I just thought I was like, as it happened, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what is this shit? I'm like, no, I'm good. Hey.
I think it's actually positive. I enjoy it. It's definitely, I mean, I find it a positive. I do. Maybe it's my own fascination with wanting to like have sex with an alien, and I connect with that somehow, right? With that relationship in some way. I'm not sure. And I'm sorry about that, folks. I didn't mean to like have to put my private stuff out like that and whatnot. But of course, I've talked about this before. Either way, I like it personally. I do. And I hope that they get married and like live happily ever after. And Bronwyn is badass. Like seriously, she kicks ass.
She's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. And she's actually pretty solid with her profound lines. She pulls them off pretty well. She's pretty believable. Now we didn't get any halflings at all in this episode, right? There were no scenes.
Nope.
So, thank God. Because, besides like The Stranger occasionally and like that damn song that freaking the one halfling kid sang episode 5 that was really good. That was a dope ass song. When they played the maps, they laid the maps out and everything and whatnot and showed their trek, like their journey, their migration.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember what the hell that halfling or what do they call halflings or hobbits in this
Harfoots.
Yes, that's right, Harfoots. Of course. Perfect sense. So, essentially, Bronwyn is played by Nazanin Boniadi. Wow. Some of these actors and actresses have some intense names.
She's Persian.
Wow. Okay. Born in Tehran. Wow.
Tehran, yeah.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Holy shit. Nice skin. Ismail Cruz.
Persian girls tend to be like that, yes.
Yeah, most definitely. Ismail Cruz Cordova plays Arendir, a Sylvan elf. with a forbidden love for the human healer Bronwyn. Similar to Tolkien's love stories about Elrond and Luthien and Aragorn and Arwen. And so there was no stranger, Daniel Wayman, in the episode either, who fell from the sky, of course. And we don't know who he is. We think he might be Gandalf. Cyber thinks that he is Radagast, I believe. Right, Cyber?
Yes, sir.
June, you thought that. Who did you think he was exactly? June,
Saruman.
Oh,
Christopher
okay.
Lee's character, yeah.
Oh,
Yep. That's a possibility. It's a possibility.
That's a good one.
You have to remember,
I didn't think of
Saruman
that one.
Yeah, he was good for a long time. So, like, you know, he could be Saruman.
I believe that more than him being Gandalf.
Yeah. I think that he's actually possibly Brie Larson's butt double in disguise. Right? They inserted her into the series, into the series. No, I'm just joking. I apologize, folks. I don't know why I'm making these connections. But either way, I did enjoy the whole aspect of them kind of focusing a lot on the relationship with Bronwyn and Arondir. I like Arondir, as June mentioned. He's very Legolas-like, but he's also a lot like, I guess, maybe more stronger. Like
a lot more stoic, yeah.
Yeah, he fights more with, like, I guess, like with the sword. And he's a little stronger, a little bit more like I guess hand to hand. Then kind of like he's not as graceful in a way, I guess, as Legolas was.
I think because he's also a wartime elf. He's an elf that's seen war. Legolas, I don't know if he actually saw active war until before the Hobbit, or until after the Hobbit trilogy. But yeah,
I believe he had. I do, because he'd been alive for a long time.
That's
before
true,
before the Lord of the Rings. He'd been alive for a long time. I mean, they live forever. And apparently, well, of course, now they need the light or whatever and whatnot. They need the mithril, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently to survive, which is a whole new angle. Either way, they didn't get into that either. We got no dwarves. We got no Durin. There was no Celebrimbor or anything like that. No Elrond. So it was pretty focused, basically, on just a couple characters. Galadriel was her usual stoic self, I mean, she's basically like the who's that chick in the Star Wars trilogy? Rey. She's the Rey of like Rings of Power.
She's definitely a lot more interesting than Rey, but sure.
Okay.
I guess we can agree to disagree.
No. Hey, you're right. I'm kidding. Morfydd Clark has been pretty solid as Galadriel, I thought. I do. I think she's pretty good. And I wouldn't be surprised. We'll have to see. What do you think, Cyber? Coming off of this, regardless of how it's received, I think she'll probably end up doing well, career-wise with this kind of, I guess, as I guess a stepping stone.
Well, I mean, if she's gotten this much recognition already, got this role, I feel we'll definitely be seeing her in more things in the coming years, most definitely, just like with any of these young actresses. Once they get noticed, it's kind of like a domino effect. They'll keep being in movies for a while until people, kind of get, tired of them, or they decide they're tired of acting, whatever, and stuff like that. And I definitely feel that this gal has a pretty good future in her. I think she's doing a pretty decent job. I've enjoyed her. And she's definitely no Cate Blanchett, but she's doing a pretty decent job to give us a younger version of Gadriel that we have not experienced yet, because we are so used to the Cate Blanchett version in the previous film. So I feel she's doing a pretty upright job to kind of keep in pace to a Cate Blanchett level.
No, I mean, just Cate Blanchett's name itself is fucking 10 times better than her name. Morfydd Clark? Come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to do it. That is not Starlet. Like, that's not a Starlet name. I mean, I would change it personally, but that's just me. I don't know what I'd go with, but I definitely would not be rocking the Morphid deal. Either way, she definitely is killing it. I'm loving Galadriel. And again, I think it's important, and you tell me what you think, June and Cyber. I think it's important when it comes to like a series like The Rings of Power and stuff that has to do with Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, to take into consideration what you're dealing with here and whatnot and everything, and maybe not overdo it in terms of like how critical you are with it and whatnot, and how well you dig into it at times. It's something that's supposed to be taken in and enjoyed. And you're supposed to kind of relax with it and whatnot, and kind of like let a little, something here or there go in a way. Like you're not looking for perfection. At the end of the day, it should be entertaining, right? And do something for you, move you, or connect with you in some way, at some human level or some emotional way or whatever. And I feel like these last 2 episodes and whatnot have started to do that for me. And we'll see, how things play out in episode 7 and 8. I think it's going to go well. I do. I'm optimistic. I think that it's going to work out. I do. And I'll ask you, Cyber, later on what your thoughts are in that direction. But I feel like, would you agree with me, June? And then Cyber, if you want to come in too, after June, would you agree with me, June, that it's possible that maybe, we're over critiquing not just with the Rings of Power, but in general, sometimes some of these series when, hey, at the end of the day, you're supposed to just kind of watch them and try to enjoy them.
Well, I've definitely been guilty of that big time. I've tried to be better about it, and I found myself enjoying a lot more media since I've started thinking about it a little differently. Before the series even came out, I was one of those detractors. I was like, oh, this is going to suck. And, what are they doing? And Lord of the Rings was like this, and Peter Jackson and all that stuff. But once I actually went into it with this mindset of, what, let me just check it out. What's the worst that it could possibly be? And then I was like, well, it's not really that bad. So I think, we are a lot more critical of a lot of things. I've actually stopped watching a lot of reviewers that I used to watch, because I found myself developing way too much of an opinion before I even watch something. So I was like, I'll watch all the reviews, but I'll watch them after I've actually watched it myself. So yeah, I think the show is doing a pretty good job. I think we should all be a little bit less critical. We'd probably have a lot more fun.
I think it's one of those things that we all kind of, in a way, almost have to internally kind of like check ourselves here and there on. Maybe all of us to a different degree, if at all. I don't know. But I know that I'd agree too, June. I've been guilty of it myself. I have. Right. And I've been aware of it too. I've been cognizant before and whatnot, and realized like to myself, like, wow, I'm being hyper fucking critical right now of this like movie or whatever, when it's just a movie, like it's fucking a superhero movie. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. So I just feel like, if anything, and again, I'm not even trying to get into the trolls and whatnot and all that. I'm not even trying to have a conversation about that. I have definitely seen some of the stuff on YouTube and whatnot, and online on Reddit and stuff and everything, in terms of people really downing the series. I've avoided the stuff that's beyond what I've watched, but I have seen some of the detrimental comments and whatnot, right? And I respect them for the most part, except for the ones that are ridiculous, and far-fetched. But what do you think, Cyber? Are people being too freaking tough on the Rings of Power?
I mean, in all honesty, I feel that majority of critics are too harsh on everything that they watch. I think they're going way in too much with too much of a detail pen ratio for a movie. Movie is supposed to be entertaining. TV shows are supposed to be entertaining. That's what they are. They're entertainment. They're not supposed to be perfection. They're not supposed to be, whatever they think that they're supposed to be at such a high level. And I never look at anybody else's, thought process about this before I see anything. I always watch things fresh, anew. Even, with social media, I scroll past things. If I see anything that's about anything or anything like that, I just don't care, because I'm going to have my own opinion about the show no matter what they say anyways. So I don't even bother with them. And I feel that majority of the time, most of the things that critics hate, I absolutely love. So I feel that it's all about opinions. Opinions are, your own personal choice, your decision on what you feel or like about things. And that's just what it is. And, some people are going to take those to heart and agree with them. Others are going to be like me where they don't give a crap. And then others are going to kind of be like, okay, well, I'm going to weigh the options here. I see what they're saying, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, I see it going this way. It's all very, different in each person's opinion. So you can't really go by any of those and allow them to influence you. Make your own decision. That's that's why you have an opinion. So that's how I always viewed it. And I think that, sometimes people will be very harsh about things, and that's their opinion, and that's fine, but just because they feel that way doesn't mean, you can't feel a different way. That's just how opinions work.
Fuck you, Steve from Bumble. Fuck you.
That's right. Toughen up,
Exactly.
bitch. We can't be having that weak stuff. Don't be crying now. Anyways, folks, I apologize. A little bit of, that was a bit of a flashback from my paint chip eating days, back in my youth. But either way, so before I go ahead and drop one of the Rings of Power trailers, just to kind of like give us a little bit of a breather and like get some visual stimulation going, I just want to really quick do a little quick round of questions. Just a little bit of a spin-off, kind of like, make some kind of lighthearted kind of question here. Go to you first, Judah, then to you, Cyber. If there was like one really fucking weirdo like character, like WTF character from a different TV series or movie that you could put into Rings of Power, right? At this point in the series, going to episode 7, who do you think you go with? Like anybody, I don't care. Any movie, any TV series, who would you want to drop in?
Can we pass it to Cyber and I can take a minute to think about it?
Yeah.
Who would I like to see drop? Let's see. Balky Bartokomous from Perfect Strangers. That's what I like to see in it. I think he'd be a great added treasure to the film. Bronson Pinchot is a phenomenal actor, comedian, and I think that he would be a perfect choice to add to this show at this part of the series.
I would go with Man-Thing. I would. From Werewolf by Night, I would go with Man-Thing. I think he would bring a lot, really, to the series. He would. He'd bring a different element and a different energy, to episode 7 and 8. And, I mean, hey, you got to give Man-Thing credit. I mean, I can't understand anything he says, and he's still more understandable than Tuskens and Sand People, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, even Man-Thing's like language is better than theirs. But no, I would go Man-Thing. 50-50 Man-Thing or I cannot stop freaking thinking about how cool it would be if they dropped Jar Jar Binks into the House of the Dragon series. Jar Jar, baby. House of the Dragon, Jar Jar Binks. Yeah.
It's funny you bring it up because I think my answer to your question was going to be Daemon Targaryen. I would love to see what Daemon would do in a world like Rings of Power.
I don't know, man. That'd be interesting. Like Daemon and Adar, like bullshitting. I'm not sure what Daemon would think of Adar.
I'm not sure. I think Daemon and Elendil would get along really well. Because Elendil is everything that Daemon liked in his older brother, but with more of a backbone than his actual older brother, which I think was the point of contention between the two.
I don't think Daemon would even give a shit if he was on Rings of Power. He'd just be like, this is bullshit. And he would just walk away and go hang out at like some whorehouses and shit.
Possibly.
But hey, who knows? Daemon is like, he's reformed at this point. Like where I'm at in House of the Dragon, I'm like, shoot. We got the finale, I think, to go, and that's it, I think. And like, hey, since he got with Rhaenyra, he's like a different man. He's dedicated, He's not like, he keeps his mouth shut. It's interesting. Either way, I definitely think Jar Jar Binks would be a game changer in either one of the series. Dropping Jar Jar and Rings of Power, game changer. Total game changer. I've got to come up with like a Jar Jar meme or a video clip that we can play of Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Yes, folks. Technical difficulties.
We thought the war, at last, was ended.
Today, our days of peace begin.
We thought our joys would be unending. We thought our light would never dim.
The skies are strange.
It is here, Galadriel. The moment we feared.
Evil does not sleep. It waits.
Beyond the darkness, tempting shadow to bury us all beneath the mountain.
He has not one name, but many.
Have you heard of him, lad? Have you heard of Sauron?
If the evil rising is left unchecked, it will take us all. Find the light, and the shadow will not find you.
Together we can survive this.
Fight with me.
Each of us must decide who we shall be.
There can be no trust between hammer and rock. Eventually, one or the other must surely break.
You have been told many lies of Middle-earth.
What the hell does the Balrog have to do with anything?
Maybe we'll see him again.
Well, I just want to thank Wikipedia for spoiling fucking the shit and whatnot right now with me and everything, and telling me flat out when I went to go look because I couldn't remember how to spell Halbrand. Well, it says right here Charlie Vickers is Sauron. All right, well there you go. Fucking A. Thanks, Wikipedia. You know, come on now.
Huh? I didn't hear anything you said.
Well, either way, thanks. Either way, I can't take it away now. So, you know, that really fucks me up. I'm very disappointed, but it's okay though. I'll be all right. I'll just think happy. I'll think of Bronwyn and Arendelle together getting married. You know, I will. So, basically, right. Going back to episode 6 and sort of, I guess, in a way, tying things up in a way, right? Wrapping things up and whatnot, and kind of closing things out. June, you mentioned already, you know, Elendil. And I think that so far, they've been sort of, I guess, selective in terms of like his use in a way. You know, they haven't really overdone it with him in terms of like the kind of screen time he's gotten and whatnot and everything. And of course, it's Lloyd Owen that plays Elendil, the Numerian sea captain, who will eventually become king and leader in the last alliance between elves and men. Now, we also saw Isildur in the episode and whatnot, and there was some stupid conversation with Isildur and Elendil about his horse or whatever and whatnot. I don't even care. When Isildur pops up in the scene, I don't even bother. Right? Like, I tune out at that point. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. He just seems like he's bitching all the time and whatnot, you know? So I'm not, you know, he's not motivating me or like making me feel very positive when I'm seeing him at that point. I think he's kind of bringing Elendil down a little bit, you know, although I do know that he has a good future ahead of him. So basically, obviously, we don't really get a ton of time spent at all with the Numenorians in terms of, you know, any of them talking or whatever and whatnot, or like their voyage, really, you know, or anything like that and whatnot. Basically, they kind of show up right in the nick of time, essentially, when the townfolk do think that they basically won the battle and realize that it was the other part of the townfolk that did, like, you know, bend the knee. They just killed and fought. The real orc army shows up with Adar. They halt up in like the tavern. Bronwyn has taken a orc arrow like to the shoulder, which I don't know the lore. I don't know like what, you know, I'm assuming that that's not good to get an orc arrow. It's got to be tainted with some kind of like dark magic or poison or some shit. Basically Theo's like flipping out, you know, like Theo's kind of like changed around, you know, he's kind of become more ethical. You know, like he loves his mom and shit and whatnot. You know, Arondir's trying to like stepdad him up and shit. He's a good dude, you know. They're getting tight. And basically, Arondir does some like intense elven surgery shit on Bronwyn. You know, some sick shit. Like she's screaming and everything and whatnot, passes out. It's pretty intense. You know, like it continued to add to the gravity of things. Ardir shows up with like the orcs and shit, and he wants. Now, you guys can actually help me with this and make it clear to me. Is like the partial Saran sword, right? Or is it the key or whatever thing that he wants?
That is the key.
That is the key.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's both.
Okay. Yes. And so he's there for the key. And basically, when Arondir and nobody else will give it up, they just start, you know, he just like starts having the orcs just like kill random innocent people, you know, villagers and whatnot, to start killing them. Again, another kind of like, holy shit, you know, like I didn't expect that almost. And just again, it took it to, you know, things to a different level. For me, in terms of what I expected from the series at this point going into it. So essentially, Cyber, when we have the sound of the hoofbeats and the horses of the Numenorians, like Galadriel and like their forces, Muriel, and you know they come in and kind of save the day and whatnot and everything, right? And obviously, like they're a massive, like, you know, effective, you know, military force. Even though their numbers are not massive, they're on horseback. A lot of them have armor, almost like, you know, knights. You know, they're skilled, you know, in battle. And of course, you know, Elendil's badass. You know, Galadriel's like hanging off her horse and shit and whatnot, like halfway, beheading orcs and all that and whatnot, you know. What for you, I mean, did you feel like Did that connect with you at all? Maybe in like a Lord of the Rings-esque kind of way at all? Did that kind of like, you know, bring that home? Did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy the sound of the horse beats and whatnot and everything, and know that was Elendil and the forces coming in?
I mean, I knew what it was. I don't think it was anything very necessary for the sequence. But yeah, I think that the whole sequence when they arrive and start kicking butt was really awesome. I mean, the couple of scenes where Gadriel is on her horse and dodging arrows and stuff like that was so cool. And just some of that sequence was just really done well, especially when some of the orcs' heads were coming off and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this was just a really great battle sequence. It's what I've been waiting for. That's what I look for when I see a Lord of the Rings film. I mean, the Helm's Deep sequence in Two Towers is one of the ultimate best sequences of any Lord of the Rings films. And that, to me, is what this felt like. It felt like they brought that back. And to answer your question more, I feel that I don't feel it made me feel anyway. I just was glad that they finally showed up to help out, and I was just happy to see them, you know, get into the battle and show us some action. So I don't feel it added anything to it, but at the same time, it definitely was. I get why it was there, and I get that, you know, it helped kind of deliver them coming.
I'll tell you what. We talked about it before. We have got to figure out a plan to review the freaking Lord of the Rings movies, man. I'm telling you. You know, I have no desire to become some kind of pro film reviewer or whatever and whatnot, but if there was any movies out there that I want to review for fun, the Lord of the Rings films are one of them, or are like three of them that I would just love the hell out of watching them and reviewing them and talking about them. And like, actually, I don't think I've ever in my life ever had a chance to actually sit with other people that I enjoyed hanging out with and talking to and discussed the shit that went down in those films, right? The characters, the battles, the relationships, right? You know, the villain, you know, and of course, if you care about this kind of stuff, if you look at the rankings and you look at the magazines and like, you know, the websites and the reviewers and whatnot that put out the top 10, top 15, top 20, you know, best films of all time, most inspirational films of all time type lists, Lord of the Rings is typically up there. You know, it's in that top 10 area, right? Like right up there towards the top. There's no way around it. Like, I'm sorry, but the Helm's Deep battle, there's so many inspiring fucking especially in the battles, there's so many inspiring moments with so many different characters that it's just like, there's tons of them, you know? That you just cannot be not moved by, you know? And I'm sorry, but I'm just not seeing anything at all that relates to me in terms of the Rings of Power series where I think that there's even a possibility that they could even touch the type of impact or tone or like depth, right? That those moments, like those like, you know, those motivating sort of, you know, never forget kind of like, you know, type of like triumphant moments. Like when Gandalf comes down that hill on that slant, like he said he was going to with the army and whatnot, you know, on that third day in the morning when the sun comes up, right? And he actually goes and like leads the charge and shit and whatnot with his staff and his sword. That is awesome, right? Like seriously. And I don't know. Again, maybe it's the different medium, the episodical TV stuff or whatever. I have no idea, but maybe it's the acting, you know, or the story. Maybe it's the writing. I'm not sure, but maybe it's the lack of action, right? Because I think we've all agreed that like episode 6 really killed it because of the battle scenes. You know, June Cyber was just talking about, and we were just talking about the entrance essentially, right? The real, you know, legit like kicking ass entrance of Elendil and the Numerian forces with Galadriel, you know, and of course, you know, I'll still call him Halbrand, you know, saving the day, and not just saving the day, but actually like coming in like fucking like, you know, to kicking ass, right? Like a real like military force. You know, what, you know, what element did that kind of provide for you? I guess maybe if anything, did it kind of just bring the energy back?
That exemplified what my favorite thing about this show was, and what really made me fall in love with the show in the first place. It was the fact that this show is a very, very high fantasy show. I think that's something that's not really represented a lot nowadays. A lot of fantasy now, especially with Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. We're seeing a lot of low fantasy being adapted. And low doesn't necessarily mean bad. It's just a different flavor of the fantasy. But in order to really appreciate that, we need to have that representation of what good versus evil, good triumphing over evil kind of fantasy is. And I think the arrival of the Numenorians portrayed that really well. I felt a really big sense of like, yes, they're here, the day is saved, which makes the ending of the episode just that much more shocking because it's kind of like, wow, no, it's not. This was inevitable. This is what was going to happen. But yeah, that was really cool. Definitely not on par with the Ride of the Rohirrim and the Lord of the Rings movies, but like you said, nothing will ever touch what those movies were. I don't think the Hobbit movies even came close to touching what the Lord of the Rings movies were. So I don't think that sense of epicness, that sense of scale will ever be touched. But it definitely did serve what this story is supposed to be well.
Well said, well articulated, June. That was exactly wasn't sure what the right way to word that was and whatnot and everything, and you nailed it. You really did. What they brought. It wasn't like a bolt, like a re-energizing thing. It was sort of that triumphant. Okay, yes, there's good. Like there's the rest of the team, right? Like that end game moment where bam, the portal's open. You know what I'm saying? And and T'Challa pops out. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot and shit, and all that and whatnot. The forces of good are gonna win. And I think that you're right. And they delivered that very well. They did. From a standpoint of the sound of the hoofbeats building up and whatnot and everything, to bring up anticipation.
The armor design, the bright white colors, clean armor, which we don't see a lot. Contrast that with the Yorks. It's all rusted metal, jagged edges, but then these Numenorians are wearing this pristine armor it was so nicely done.
Hell yeah. And I think that from there, essentially, before I don't want to just wrap things up without mentioning really quick and getting your thoughts real quick, Cyber, then you, June. Where we do get the scenes where we do get some suppositional stuff and we get some kind of like you talked about, Cyber, Adar's relationship with Galadriel, right? And their dialogue that they have and whatnot when Galadriel interrogates him after Halbrand sort of half-heartedly acts like he's gonna stab to death or whatever and whatnot for whatever he's done. I really, really dug the whole deal where Adar was talking to Halbrand and basically said, did I hurt you? Was it a woman? Was it a child? Again, that really kind of just added more of that darkness to me, more layers of that, that seriousness, that tone. That does kind of hit home with me in almost the Lord of the Rings kind of way. That type of real depth and seriousness of where there are actual consequences. You know what I mean? And shit's no joke. And Adar, he's scary at times. He's capable of being scary as shit. Just some of the stuff he says, he has that ability. The actor or whatever, he has that ability as a character or whatnot. At least for me, I feel he's impactful. He really is. He brings a whole different element to the show, whatever he ends up being. I'm guessing he's a lieutenant, essentially, under Sauron, and he's full of shit. Or maybe he's a free agent, since, what's his name, Morgoth or whatever, whatnot, was killed. He's a free agent. But either way, what did you think, June, when it came to Galadriel interrogating, Adar, their back and forth, Adar talking about how essentially he is a half breed. I guess like he was one of the first elves that was experimented on and made into orcs, I guess, by Saran. Or not
Uruks.
Saran.
Yeah.
Morgoth. Yes. Which is pretty intense if you think about it. Like, again, that's pretty intense. That like he almost was kind of experimented on in like an evil way. You know, at that point, they didn't do a lot with Halbrand, really. What did you think of the interrogation scene with Galadriel and with Adar, their dialogue, their relationship, I guess, like almost akin to what Cyber mentioned earlier?
I think that scene served both their characters really well. On Adair's side, you saw kind of, you know, this person who understands the circumstances that they're in, and really what he's doing isn't for any evil reasons. It's just he's like, yeah, this is who I am. I need to have a home, and he definitely feels a kinship with the orcs, which is what I really appreciate about him as a character. But then on the flip side, you see the amount of almost zealous anger and rage that Galadriel has, and not being able to understand that this person is, you know, he's not out with the idea of I want to kill all the elves. He's just out here with the idea of I just want a home. I want my people to have a home, and that's about it. So I think it definitely emphasized both of them really well. Yeah, I thought it was a fine scene. I really like the part where he specifies he's not an orc, he's an uruk. And then towards the end of their conversation, she calls him an orc again, and he almost kind of like spits this word out. He's just like uruk, and I just thought that was a really funny touch, and the actor did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not very pretty looking. That's definitely, he's not very attractive, no question about that. But of course, none of the orcs are like real, are like Instagram model type, like, you know, attractive, you know, at that level. You know, they're not like that. But essentially, Cyber, what did you think of the, you know, the interrogation scene? You know, did you feel like that that did anything in terms of, I guess, maybe elevated Galadriel a little bit in the episode, right? Since she didn't like really like, you know, compared to the rest of the series, she really kind of wasn't that, you know, heavily used.
I mean, that whole sequence was, I thought, really well done. I enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job with it. I thought that Gadriel was really amazing in that sequence, along with Adar being amazing as well. I thought their dialogue was really intricate, very well put together, and just really defined, like, kind of, you kind of see how the darkness is kind of across all of them there in that sequence, and that, you know, darkness can fall into anybody, even if you are about the good, but also you have dark thoughts because of what dark things the other person has done. And I thought Adar and her conversation were really well done, because the fact that the presentation, you felt Gadriel's hatred. You also felt how Adar, he was keeping secrets, so you could tell, and that there was more than meets the eye when it comes to what he was telling her and saying. And that, you know, when he did talk about how, oh, I killed Sauron, you were kind of like, you could definitely tell there was something more to that than what he was saying. And so you could see that, you know, it was kind of dwelling in her that, you know, I could tell you're lying. I'm an elf. I've been around for many, many centuries, you know, and stuff like that. And, you know, even though he's an elf, I'm sure elves are really good at being liars too, as well. So I'm sure both of them had more to that conversation than what they were presenting. But at the same time, you're glad that what's his name came in and stopped her from, you know, killing him. But as you saw in the sequence after she says, thank you for pulling me from that dark place, you can see her wiping her blade on a, you know, handkerchief, because she did draw blood, even though she didn't fully do anything. So I think that whole sequence, all in all, was really done well, and a great addition to that episode, bringing the episode to a pretty good conclusion before that epic conclusion we saw.
Definitely. And I think that, of course, you know, we basically end up essentially closing things out, I guess, off of the high of the victory of the battle, essentially at the overall, we end up essentially with remember Waldrig, the man or the human being or whatever that led the revolt, back to Adar. Well, essentially, upon assembling, I guess, the hilt of the key or the sword, using as the key, he starts the process that like Adar, I guess, essentially wanted to pull off, where, and this confused the shit out of me at first for a minute. They flooded those underground tunnels the orcs have been like digging. They've been using like slave laborers to dig and whatnot and everything, and at that point, they had that dormant volcano. And now, again, I'm no scientist, but it seemed like essentially they flooded the area in a way almost and whatnot and everything, and like unleashed all this like havoc with water. And then all of a sudden it was almost like the water turned into like the lava or whatever and whatnot. And like it was the volcano, right? And the volcano erupted or whatever. It was kind of confusing to me in a way. But either way, there was flooding, there was massive flooding. And, the real purpose, I guess, was to flood essentially this area, I guess, of the Southlands or whatever. And basically, it turns out that the orcs aren't all as stupid as shit as we thought they were with the whole tunneling deal. They actually were trying to logically do something, and now I guess the freaking fireballs or whatever just occurred or popped out of the volcano. I'm not really positive. You guys can correct me on that or like clarify if you want. But I was under the assumption that the whole fireball deal and whatnot, everything, all that devastation and shit, essentially just was like an after effect that came off the volcano, or like the process that was started by the key. Would I be correct with that, June?
More or less, I guess, yeah. So I'm not sure if this is the spoiler or maybe probably not, I guess, but that we basically saw the creation of Mount Doom, in which the One Ring will be forged, in the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really, I did not expect that. I realized what was happening like a split second beforehand, because there's a shot where you see the mountain right before the eruption. And I remember seeing that image. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a series of games called Shadow of Mordor. And there are these video games set in the Lord of the Rings universe. They're not canon with anything as far as I know. But there's just pages on lore in there. And I remember seeing it depicted like that right in the game. And that's when I realized, like, oh shit, we're about to see it happen. This is how Mount Doom got created. And yeah, definitely unexpected, but definitely impactful.
Yeah, I mean, if Dr. Doom would pop out of that bitch, that would be fucking awesome. Mount Doom and Dr. Doom, right? That would be dope. I'm telling you. That would be a good connection. That'd be even better than Jabba. Or not Jabba, but Jar Jar. Jar Jar in House of the Dragon, which would still be dope. I'm telling you guys, folks, I think I'm infected by these porno advertisements, whatever the fuck is going on here. I can't even block them. They're secret agents and secret agent like bot porn people and shit over here. Can't get rid of them. They're like a virus. I'm not even sure what the hell they're even talking about. We found a girl for you. Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, hey. I mean, does she have one eye or two?
She's a Cyclops.
Does she look like Bronwyn? Or does she look like that fucking orc that Arondir fought at that one point and whatnot and everything? Because that's a big difference in terms of the attractiveness. But
she looks like a cross between Shrek and that orc.
Well, hey, I'm not a visual person anyway. I'm really all about the personal and emotional connection, the romantic connection with the ladies, right? So you know, I don't even look at pictures. They don't mean anything to me. Just to be clear. I mean, you know. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, June, you got to bounce?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt, but I do have an early morning.
Oh, no, hey, you can always interrupt, man. That's no problem. That's no problem. We don't have to get all crazy and watch the Guardians of the Galaxy teaser or Christmas teaser or whatnot. We can do it another time. We're right at the 1.5 hour mark anyway. So we'll just go ahead and call it there. I mean, June, do you want to go ahead and give your final thoughts on the episode? You know, and Cyber, you too, right? And then just roll right into like, you know, plugs and whatnot and everything. And we'll get the hell out of here and shit and whatnot, all chilled out, just like Galadriel. Like all the fireballs, flying at her and whatnot. She's just like, invincible.
Yeah, man. Like I said, probably the best episode we've seen thus far. I feel like this was definitely like peak of the season, and looking forward to what's coming next couple episodes and next season. Pretty excited for it.
Hell yeah, there you go. Cyber, sir, final thoughts on episode 6?
Yeah, I definitely feel this is the best episode so far of the season. I really enjoyed it. I love how action-packed it was. Like I said, the only qualm I had with it was the darkness. I felt that they could have lighted it a little bit better. But other than that, it was perfection, beautiful, artistry with, everything that happened, the fight sequences, the storyline, everything was perfect. There wasn't too much, small bit pieces into it. They kept it action-packed with a little bit of dialogue, but action-packed. I thought all of it was really amazing. That end sequence was really insane. I'm looking forward to seeing what that's all about the next episode. And all around, just a really fun episode. Giant 10 golden movie boxes up on this episode. Loved it.
I'll give it a 9.5. 9.5. June?
Solid 9 out of 10. Yeah, 9.5. Sure.
Definitely. And I don't want to forget either about the triumphant emotional scene where Arondir gives Theo that gift of essentially like a Kate Med-esque like nude photo of a chick and some lube, right? For him to to go, handle his business as like a bonding thing.
I think he's talking about the axe, but okay.
Yes, it was an axe. That's right. Yep. Because Theo, he actually said something very profound. He said, "I feel empty," or what did he say? He said he felt like loss, not being able to feel the sensation of holding the Saran sword, right? So that's why Arondir stepped in there and had to give him that crude, stick figure naked woman picture, right? And some orc lube and a hatchet, maybe. Theo's gonna get after it with that hatchet. So, June, I know you don't really have much to plug, but I do want to thank you for coming on with us, man, and everything and whatnot. It was good to see you again. And
Pleasure.
Appreciate you. You did a great job as always, and very articulate as always. Appreciate your passion. Can tell that you really dig the Lord of the Rings universe and whatnot and everything, and you definitely you're being fair with the Rings of Power. You're not getting all nasty with it, with it and whatnot, and Amazon and being mean. Cyber Night Shark, sir, what would you like to plug this evening? I mean, you are literally, your individual content is at a scale that is growing.
Yeah, so I mean, if you enjoy me here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, most definitely check out my other solo content that I do. You can find me under Cybernetic Shark under all the different platforms from TikTok to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I do, movie reviews, outtakes, all that kind of cool stuff on there as well. I'm doing a lot of shorts on YouTube as of right now, little mini reviews and stuff like that. So definitely check those out as well. I will be incorporating some kind of parody stuff eventually to the shorts, working on ideas and how to do them. and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, if you enjoy me on here, definitely check that stuff out. And you guys rock.
There you go. And hey, we got episode 7 next week. And then episode 8, that'll be done. And at that point, I believe Cyber and I will be flipping Andor over to Wednesdays. Speaking of which, Andor episode 2 review Friday evening, 9:35 p.m. Eastern, 9:40, whatever, around there. 6:35, 6:40 Pacific. Cyber, myself. We will have essentially Stacy back from Some Real Shit Podcast. And hopefully, I think I'm going to have probably one more person on the panel. So I'll probably have 4 of us. We'll have Andor episode 2. And then Saturday, we've got the Black Adam review, which is going to be intense. It's going to be some serious shit. We're bringing in some heavy hitters here. We're going to have Jar Jar, Brie Larson on the panel.
Chloe Zhao.
Yep. We're going to have Chloe Zhao. Yep. There you go. My hero. Everybody's hero.
Don't forget Brie Larson's butt double as well.
There you go. Yep. There's Brie. She'll be on the panel. I'm sure she'll have lots of interesting things to say. No doubt about that. She always does. In fact, you know what, Cyber? I think I actually saw the other day a song that she sang.
Oh, yeah?
Is she a singer now?
Not that I'm aware of.
I swear to God, I was on YouTube the other day and I saw a music video that had like 10 million or 11 million views, and it was her.
I haven't seen it.
Yep. She's very talented, multi-talented. Now she's a singer. There you go. That's Brie, baby. Captain Brie. Don't even get me started on what it'd be like if she was in Rings of Power. She'd be a game changer. She'd be a game changer.
Big game changer.
Hot D.
There you go.
Yes, Hot D.
There you go. We love you, Brie. All right, folks. Shout out to the Lord of the Rings fandom. Shout out to the Rings of Power fandom. Shout out to Rumble. What up, Rumble? How's it going? We appreciate you. What up, Twitch? What up, Facebook? Hopefully, we'll be back on you at some point. We're trying. We're going to get there. Don't forget about us. We'll be back. What up, YouTube? What up, TikTok? We'll talk to y'all later. Take care. Peace. Fuck She-Hulk.